Now, what a way to start Hump Day. Look at that. Hound Lover has become a new YouTube member. Can we please have a huge round of applause for Hound Lover? Also, our girl Sophia gifted a Crime Lines and Lies membership. Now that's how we start a show. Woo! You guys are the best. Who was up late last night? Who was up late? You know, old Brooks here doesn't stay up late. I eat dinner around, I'd say 6 in the evening. And I hit the hay around 7:30, 8 o'clock. You wouldn't even believe it. I was burning the midnight oil. I was up till like midnight. Now then, I do want to discuss something with you because I had a few messages. I'll just put it that way. I had a few messages from people saying, I don't feel comfortable being here anymore because I know your stance on politics and religion. What the fug are you talking about? Something wrong with people's brains? Did they eat a brain tumor for dinner last night? That they feel like they're being picked on in chat because of the way they vote. We don't vote in here. We vote for things like, hey, are you new here? What do you think happened? That type of stuff. You have to be kidding me. But I don't have any time for that today because you know why? Today is Hump Day and we got to welcome back our friend Mike.
Oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo!
It is Hump Day, and look at this. Our friend Sonia Allen is in the house. Did you guys notice your Thanksgiving badges? Look at these little Thanksgiving gnomes. Look, Danny Dang, she's got OJ. OJ as a pilgrim. That's awesome. Look at this. Go Buckafuckalo has John Wayne saying, hello, pilgrim. Geez, I might get killed for that one too. Who knows? Who's got their pink on? On Wednesdays, we wear pink. Chrissy, well, she's showing us up. Look at that. Chrissy goes, I have my red, white, and blue on. That's the way to be. Sunset Gazing, I love you so much. She said, goodness gracious, can't we all just get along? Wouldn't that be amazing? Walking Dead, who claimed to be new here yesterday, and I laughed about it all damn day long. She says she has pink on her glasses. I need those. Well, I'll tell you what. That was extra hilarious yesterday when I said, if you're new here in the bushes, come say hi. And all of a sudden, here comes Walking Dead. And I'm like, Jocelyn, you looking for some attention? Hell you doing? But no, we do true crime here. We don't do drama. We don't do politics. We don't do religion. But you could sway me one way or another. Did put a video up yesterday, members only. Go check it out. That is about OJ and how he voted yesterday. It was great. He started his own political party. It is called MACA, Make America Cat Again. 18 hours a day sleeping. You can lay on any fixture in your house you feel comfortable on. Nobody can get you off of it. If you decide to unmake the bed after your mom makes the bed, nothing can happen to you. If the door opens and you want to go outside and hiss and fight with dogs next door, you 100% can. If you hear something crumbling like this, that better be a treat. That means there better be a bag of treats. So he has started his own political party. It probably didn't go well for people last night because it looks like OJ didn't win, but hey, that's okay. We're still friends. We're still friends. Let's get to your comments from yesterday because you had a lot to say about Delphi, and it had my mind going all day thinking about that case. And my mind, especially after certain times a day, can be a dangerous place to be. All right, our friend Vero Hammer, who I miss and haven't seen in chat in a long time, said, Brooks, always thought there was one on the trail and another at the end, half the hill. No. Turns out the girls were 100% always together. She says, thanks, Brooks. Great show. Much love for you. Love you, Vero. Come back. Teresa Thompson said, this Klein guy's voice sounds just like the voice saying, guys down the hill. And he looks more like the sketch than Richard Allen does. Now, this has been something many of you brought up to me, that the down the hill, the bridge guy, the voice, the height, the find a way to put this, the thickness looks more like Kegan than Richard Allen. Let's look at this really quick. Gaelic Girl, thank you for the super sticker. Love you. Gaelic Girl and I already had our own show this morning. We were on the phone. True Crime Beat said, does look like Ron Logan. We're going to talk about Ron Logan today. We're going to talk about him. Because there is no reason to lie about where you were the day that Abby and Libby were murdered. Especially to go to Lafayette, Indiana, to get some fish and bring them home and train them. That is the most bizarre story I have ever heard in my life. First time I heard it, I said, he's going to train the fish? To do what, swim? They're born to swim. What, blow bubbles? What are you going to do? You're going to teach them to play fetch? What are you talking about? Dainty Dane said more like Ron Logan than Richard Allen. Tell you what, you guys are blowing my mind again. Peas in a pod. Now remember, if I, me, myself, and I, showcase your comment, you send me an email and you go into the drawing. Once a month, and I don't pick. No. We do things different around here. You will get a special prize. Peas in a pod. She actually is also the captain of our coin pusher team. In my opinion, Kegan is deeply involved. He set the trap, so he had to know who it was for and what was going down. Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? Because that's the truth. It is Kegan that lured Abby and Libby out there. He should be charged as an accessory for setting that trap, in my opinion. To me, the one sketch looks exactly like he did back then. I got you. I'm thinking they filmed the crime scene and sold it to others as a snuff film. That's why sex wasn't part of it. And it had to be at least two people, because one would have been screaming and screaming while the other was first being hurt. Also, it's possible that Richard Allen's mental decline because of multiple things like solitary confinement and having let his confessions out. Let's talk about some of his confessions. You guys left amazing comments. Amazing comments. One of his 60-plus confessions was that he molested his daughter and his sister. Well, they each took the stand and said that never happened. You see, a confession goes with something I call details. I call details. It's one thing for someone to say, oh, I went and got gas and came back home. No one's going to question that. But if something else is going on, they've got detail after detail after detail after detail. Richard Allen, who I believe is involved, don't get it twisted, doesn't have details in all his confessions. It's just I did it. I did it. I did it. Kegan had details. Ron Logan had details. And Brad Weber, his interviews, interrogation, and testimonies for the last, since 2017 have been very inconsistent. Well, let's get to what broke loose yesterday. Someone, and it couldn't possibly be Libby or Abby, so we don't need to argue about that, plugged headphones into Libby's phone. Well, who would have done that? Was it Richard Allen? Was it Kegan? Was it Tony? Was it Brad? Was it Sean? Who was it? Because it wasn't the two girls. Go through this with me, please.
Shift gears here to another top headline. Day 16 of testimony in the Delphi murders trial.
Yeah, the defense is working to poke holes in the prosecution's case against accused killer Richard Allen, who's charged in the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. Fox 59's Russ McQuaid just got out of the courtroom here within the last few minutes, and he joins us live outside the Carroll County Courthouse with the...
By the way, I don't live in Indiana, but I can tell you, I just think this Russ McQuaid is a really, really good journalist. Mirror Camp, new mama coming in. From the time the bridge guy was recorded to the last moment was 19 minutes. No way could one man do that amount of damage in the little time, just my opinion. I have actually, through listening to the testimony, I have it shrunk down a little bit more. Now, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, because I know you all will, because you're the best in the world. 2:32 p.m. is when Libby's phone is no longer moving. No longer moving. Brad Weber came home at 2:30. That's when he scared Richard Allen. So Richard Allen, forced Abby and Libby down the hill, across a private driveway, then down another hill, then across Deer Creek, up the creek bank in 2 minutes. The girls were dead by 2:21 p.m. These times are not making any sense. Something in this puzzle has got to make sense. When Libby says to Bridge Guy, "But there's no trail," he says, "Guys down the hill." This was a setup. This was a setup. And I can only think of one person that set him up. Let's get our umbrellas because it is raining in here, my friends. If you got a gift membership, I tell you what, you know who to thank. It's just, I'm not doubting. Well, I shouldn't. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm sounding like a real hypocrite right now. Hey, look, anything's possible. The amount of blood. Abby being redressed. Brad Weber originally saying he knew more than he knows now. His stories have been very inconsistent. We have the Kegan angle. We have the fact, that the day after the murders, Tony Klein and Kegan hightailed it to Las Vegas. Why? And they did a quick turnaround to get back to Indiana. Their clothes were switched. FBI says, the FBI says, law enforcement believes the girls lost a lot of blood during their murders with an unspecified weapon, which they are saying is a box knife now. They were not killed in the same location where their bodies were discovered. Woo! Someone's gonna have to fill in this puzzle for me, because normally I can I have reading comprehension. You know, you can explain something to me and I understand it. I'm not understanding this. But facts are facts. Who in the hell plugged in the headphones, which don't belong to Libby, when all this was going on?
Latest, Russ?
Dan, we've got some significant information that has just come out in the last couple hours, and that testimony came from a former FBI forensics expert, an examiner who spent her career at the FBI looking at telephone data. She looked at Libby German's phone, the one she shot. She used her cell phone to shoot video of Bridge Guy following her and Abby on the Monon High Bridge on February 13th, 2017. We had already heard that phone never moved after 2:33 p.m. That would be approximate time when the prosecution says that Libby and Abby were being assaulted, perhaps even killed. That's why that phone didn't move. This FBI expert, her name is Stacey Eldridge, former FBI expert, said that she did an analysis of the Indiana State Police examination of that cell phone data, and she determined that while the phone was not moving between 2:33 and 5:45 p.m., there was intermittent signals there. It was going in of signals, going out of signals. Remember, this is a rural area. If you've ever been, you know the signals go in and out. Here's what's new and significant. While the phone was not necessarily recording any data, it would still record its mechanical manipulation. She said for the first time in court today that when a phone call came in, I'm assuming from the family looking for Libby that afternoon at 5:45 p.m., within a split second, somehow a headphone jack was plugged in to that receptor on that cell phone.
Okay, let's talk about this. A headphone jack was plugged in to the receptor. He's assuming that the phone call was from family. Could be. They need to clear all that up because we know that people were there to pick them up. Baby Kisses says, I don't believe it. Susan said there's no DNA on the phone. Danny Dane said, oh, really? Then Richard wasn't even around them at that time. Thank you. Let's look at the times. This is beyond odd, and I'm with Diva. The math ain't mathin'. Listen to this again.
The signals go in and out. Here's what's new and significant. While the phone was not necessarily recording any data, it would still record its mechanical manipulation. She said for the first time in court today that when a phone call came in, I'm assuming from the family looking for Libby that afternoon at 5:45 p.m., within a split second, somehow a headphone jack was plugged in to that receptor on that cell phone. That, of course, would mute any volume, any audio coming out of that phone. And then that jack was unplugged at 10:33 that night. And then that phone remained inoperative until 4:33 the next morning. We have never heard this. We had heard that the phone was inoperative, but we never heard there was actual physical manipulation of it. The prosecution is trying to push back.
Holy hell. Holy hell. Okay, so the phone's full of mud, dirt, everything like that. Her phone originally stopped moving at 2:32 p.m., according to investigators. Then around 5:30 p.m., somebody plugs headphones into it. Now, I would say that someone saw a cell phone, picked it up, and just said, oh, I found a cell phone. I'm going to see if it works. But you're going to notice two dead bodies. You're going to notice two dead bodies and a lot of blood. Two dead bodies, beautiful girls, with sticks on them in a certain pattern. And y'all know when we're talking about trials and investigators, I'm always 100% with the evidence. This evidence is not in my brain yet. True Crime Beat said, and that person had headphones with them? Yeah. Angie Baby, why haven't they checked to see if Richard's phone was in that area? They have. It's in the probable cause. He was in the area. He's not 100% innocent. No, he's somewhere involved in this.
Back on that, claiming that the phone was found under a shoe under Abby's body on the north bank of the creek the next day. At that time, the phone was totally powered down. It's assumed the battery had died on it, and it wasn't until a couple days later that phone was powered back up, and detectives would then be able to receive information from that phone. This former FBI analyst said if Indiana State Police did a better job at the start of downloading the data, she could tell us even more about it. Earlier in the day, we heard from a Harvard-trained psychiatrist who said Richard Allen's confessions while in prison could very likely have been a result of his solitary confinement. This doctor, Dr. Stuart Gressman, said that he was an expert on the impact of solitary confinement has on inmates. And he says when an inmate is locked up, and this was a jury member asked this question, if an inmate is locked up from 6 to 12 months in solitary confinement, do they develop psychoses? The doctor said yes. And of course, from that psychoses came what the doctor said could be false confessions. And then finally, the jury also today heard from one of the defense witnesses who is an expert in ballistics technology. He says that when the bullet, the unspent bullet, was found at the crime scene, was taken to the Indiana State Police Crime Lab, and they couldn't get the results matching that bullet with Richard Allen's gun. So they changed the rules. They then, instead of injecting the bullet out of the gun, they fired the gun, which didn't happen that day by the creek, but in the lab, they fired the gun. That's how they got the results, matching the bullet to the gun. He says just by simply firing that gun, you're doing an apples to oranges comparison, and that's why the comparison, the defense hopes, that proves that Richard Allen's gun was at the crime scene is negated. I'm Russ McQuaid reporting live in Delphi.
Okay, that's a lot to take in, my friends. That's a lot to take in. My 3 sons. I have 3 sons too. There is absolutely no connection between Richard Allen and KK, so I believe they have the wrong guy. There is actually a connection between Richard Allen and Tony Klein. That would be an entirely separate show. It's actually a pretty innocent connection because it's a small town. Danny Dane said, so they manipulated the evidence to fit the narrative. Wist said, were they really giving him that drug called Haldol? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's on trial. Let's take a second and see who really is our friend Richie. This is a video put together from the Inquisitor. He's got some tight editing skills, unlike yours truly. If you've seen any of my videos, you know I'm not what you would call a Steven Spielberg.
On Friday, October 28, 2022, the news broke out that a person named Richard Matthew Allen, 50 years old, from Delphi, Indiana, was booked into Carroll County Jail in connection to the murders of Liberty German and Abigail Williams on the 13th of February 2017. His home was also searched a week before his arrest, and the neighbors saw police activity. Apparently, a fire pit was also dug up out back behind his property.
We continue right now to follow the breaking news in Carroll County, where Fox 59 has confirmed an arrest in the Delphi murder investigation.
But police have yet to give a formal statement on the suspect. And Fox 59's Courtney Spinelli joining us now here with more on what we do know right now.
I personally think they did give a formal statement. This is the formal statement that I cling to. Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter, in an interview Thursday, mind you, this was back in November of 2022, said his agency is still looking for others involved in the Delphi murders. Plus, comma, tips on the case are still coming in. Of course they are. Of course they are.
Yeah, good evening. In a small community like here in Delphi, news travels fast, but even still today, many people tell us they were stunned by word of an arrest. But it also comes with many people who told us this brings with it a feeling of relief here in this community. The case against Richard Allen, who was arrested in connection to the Delphi murders, is sealed. No information about whether he has been charged or if an initial hearing has been set has been released. Multiple sources tell us after he was booked into the Carroll County Jail, he was immediately taken to a state correctional facility for safety reasons. It's now been 5.5 years since the bodies of Libby German and Abby Williams were found below the Monon High Bridge with no arrests being made. We just went by there to see the memorial. That's still a reminder of the deep pain this community has felt after all of this. Allen's neighbors told us they were shocked by his arrest and recalled seeing police activity, which we're told included digging up a fire pit out back of his home last week.
I saw police cars going down there, a couple of police cars, and I never thought much of it.
Now, Indiana State Police have scheduled a 10 a.m. briefing on Monday, expected to update the media and the public with more information related to this arrest. It is important to note that that will be 72 hours after this arrest, which is the limit on how long the state of Indiana can hold a defendant before releasing more information on their whereabouts and any potential charges. And one more thing we do want to know is that while he has been arrested in connection to the Delphi murders, we have not been told by law enforcement what his alleged role was in all of it. Of course, working to dig into that tonight and in the days to come. Reporting in Delphi, Courtney Spinelli, Fox 59 News.
Richard Matthew Allen worked as a pharmacy tech at the CVS Pharmacy in Delphi, Indiana.
Robin, Judy, this arrest not only bringing relief to this community, but shock, as many people who live here tell me that the suspect is actually a local working here in Delphi for years. The murders of two teenage girls from Delphi, Indiana, rattling their hometown to its core, as more than 5 years went by without an arrest.
It's scary because we have a lot of trails here, and I have a teenage daughter, and we enjoyed going on those trails and doing things in the community, so it just left you with a feeling of uneasiness.
Now some relief, as sources tell WRTV, our ABC affiliate in Indianapolis, that an arrest has been made in the investigation into the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. The teens' bodies were found near a hiking trail in February of 2017. The name of the person arrested has not been confirmed, but sources say that the suspect appeared in court this morning. Heather Starkis says she knows the suspect. She described the person arrested as a local who worked at a Delphi pharmacy store for years. She had this to say about the suspect.
The person that they're accusing has children of their own, so how would you feel if something like this were to happen to your children?
German's sister posting on Twitter today in part, quote, "Just know how grateful I am for all of you. Today is the day."
I hope the best for the community and the families, that everybody can finally be at peace with what happened to those girls.
And Indiana State Police are expected to identify the suspect Monday morning, when they are expected to give us more information on this case next week. For now, we're live in Delphi, Indiana. I'm Trey Ward, ABC 7 Eyewitness.
Richard Matthew Allen was brought up in Mexico, Indiana, and went to the North Miami High School in Denver, Indiana. He seems to also have a normal family life with a wife and children. I think Richard Matthew Allen has elements to his face from both sketches and bears a similarity to an old person of interest named Jimmy Dale Duvall, who the 16-year-old...
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second. Mind you, the trial is going on, and I don't argue when trials are going on. I say, look, there's no more time for theories, speculations. This is the evidence. Something is not computing. Maybe because they're not doing it live and we're just getting recaps and things like that. Baby kisses, said a cult specialist from California, said it would have taken time over a period of days. Now I want to talk to you about another comment I had yesterday. This is from Crumple the Mal 8831. Richard Allen is 100% guilty of murdering the two girls alone. He was an avid watcher of kidnapping movies. He obviously had essay fantasies. He was on the trail that day. He was seen by 6 witnesses. 3 witnesses saw his car parked at the old CPS building. His car was caught on camera from the Hoover building. He has the same walk as the bridge guy. He has the same voice inflections if you compare the vacation audio to that of Libby's video. The girls were killed by a knife. Richard Allen loves knives. They're all over his house. He claimed he went to the bridge to watch the fish. It was impossible to watch fish that day because the water had a thick algae bloom. A photo taken later that day shows the water is thick green. I don't need the bullet evidence nor the confessions. Richard Allen is the killer. Whoa. Thank you for that comment. You put a lot of thought into that. This comment made the hair on my arms stand up.
Witness claimed looked similar to when they spoke to Douglas Rice. The witness told Douglas Rice the person she saw was around her height 5'6" or not much taller, and the bottom half of his face was covered with a scarf up to his nose. They also claimed he was wearing a short-billed hat with a hoodie pulled over it. Was the person she saw she believed to be Bridge Guy actually Richard Matthew Allen and not Jimmy Dale Duvall? I think Richard Matthew Allen is Bridge Guy. I think his height and overall appearance checks out to the person on the bridge. I don't think the police would make an arrest if they weren't sure and inform the families prior to any media statement. Speculation will ensue if he's connected to the Kleins and the recent Wabash River search at the Kelly Avenue Bridge in Peru, Indiana. Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter told Barbara McDonald on Friday, "The good news, we've made progress. The bad news, we can't tell you about it." Doug Carter is supposed to be attending the press conference on Monday when the big announcement will be made.
Our girl Susan said that's an opinion, not evidence. True, it is a comment, but I love when you all leave comments, especially when you're putting things out. But as far as the algae in the water, I can't find anything to back that up. If somebody actually has this picture of all the algae, but there's too many fish references for one day. Ron Logan was going to Lafayette, Indiana to get some tropical fish and bring them home and train them. Still don't understand that statement, but hey, what do I know? I'm not a fish trainer. Is anyone in here a fish trainer? Anders Gustafson said he would like to see Superintendent Doug Carter naked. Oh my God. Okay. Just Me said the photos of the creek didn't show that. Yeah. Now I've got Doug Carter naked in my head. Oh, what the hell's going on around here? Horny people. Okay. Let's get to Kegan Klein. Because whether people like it or not, he is involved somewhere in this case. I really think they're using him, again, my opinion, to crack this ring, this drop box that Doug Carter talked about. He said his drop box opened up one of the biggest CP rings in Indiana history. And I couldn't imagine.
Charges, but he withdrew that. And our friends Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee from the Murder Sheet podcast, they had a chance to speak with him from behind bars there in Indiana. And before we get into the specifics of Klein's case, here is some of what he told them about the Delphi murders.
No offense to the Murder Sheet. They have a great channel on YouTube. Go check it out. I will say, if I saw those two looking through my windows and hobbling around my driveway, I'd shit myself. Especially the husband. God, he looks like something out of a damn Tim Burton movie.
Do you feel you have information to speak with authorities on that? case?
I've already tried. They don't want to hear anything I have to say. So, and I've met with the prosecutor there, and I mean, yeah.
You've met with Nick McClelland?
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything about what he was like or what that experience was like?
I mean, he's a real nice guy. I mean, he was really super nice.
And this is big. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I can't really get into any more details, you know what I mean? But
that's understandable.
I mean, he was
They need to learn how to talk to people. When someone says, I really can't get into that, you say, well, I'm not a fish trainer, but you can tell me. You can tell me. What do you mean you can't get into that? We're friends here, right? Of course you can tell me, Kegan. I can't get into that. Sure you can. Flickery Ya Foot says he sounds like the down the hill voice. Here I am again, going back and forth. Listen. And remember, they have it sped up. They have it sped up.
a real nice guy, and yeah, I met with everyone.
Do you have a sense about why they don't want to hear it? This is just kind of a broad, big picture question.
They just said they don't believe me.
Okay.
Okay. And Brad Weber's voice sounds nothing like the down the hill voice. Nothing. There's our girl Blue. She said, well, damn. That's what I'm saying. We have a lot to get through, my friends. We have a think tank going on. Miss K said, hi, Brooks and everyone. I came in at horny people. Tell you what, people are wound up today. They want to see Doug Carter naked. How are we going to do about that? Jeez. So he says the prosecution does not believe him. Well, I don't believe him either. He communicated with many girls, namely Libby, who was a victim, with the Anthony Schatz profile. The only thing I really believe Kegan in is when he said he had no intention of really meeting people one-on-one. Well, no shit. Of course he didn't. Because they're going to see a big difference. They're going to say, now, hold on. You just sent me a selfie on Wednesday. Today's Friday. How'd you gain 316 pounds in 2 days? He is connected somehow. He goes to find someone and says, oh yeah, I'll meet you on the bridge. It's me, Anthony Schatz. This is what they're going to see.
First things first, where's your shitter? I've got a turtle head poking in. I got a crap on deck that could choke a donkey. Oh.
Look at that. Broken golf doll. She said that whole thing right there makes her sloppy wet.
Or they can't corroborate what I said, pretty much.
That's a big problem. That in 2017, they can't corroborate anything Kegan has said.
I'm just curious, did you know Richard Allen?
No.
Okay.
No. people said that he worked in Peru or lived in Peru around whatever year. I can't remember, but someone on some podcast was saying, oh, well, he lived right down the road from him in 2004. Like, dude, I was 10, 9 or 10 years old. Why would I know a grown man, things like that.
I mean, I guess, is there anything you wanted to state for the record or anything about some, the coverage or that you would want the public to know?
When I get to prison, I definitely will send you a letter because I want to talk about some of the Delphi stuff. But right now, I don't think that would be smart to do.
Okay.
After I'm sentenced, you know what I mean? Yeah, I would like to say a few things for sure about that.
All right. We do have our two special guests who are soon going to be joining us tonight from Indianapolis, but I want to play a little bit more sound from the Murder Sheet podcast, that interview with Kegan Klein, where he discusses something close to explaining why he is not going to go forward with the sentencing, why he may want to withdraw things and not go forward with that guilty plea. I do want to offer the information that we have not been able to independently verify some of the claims that he makes against a relative, but take a listen to what he has to say about why.
The question is, why did the authorities just brush off that the girls were actually there to meet Kegan? Not Kegan, but Kegan with the Anthony Shots profile. What do some people call it? Kismet or something? Just like everything happens at once. So you're telling me Richard Allen grabs a six-pack, decides to go out to the bridge and look for people to rape. Okay? Really? It happens that way? He just happens, even though he said he was there to look at fish, to come across Abby and Libby, who were lured out there by the Anthony Shots profile. Why is this being brushed away that he lured them out there? Why is Kegan so protected? I don't know. Baby Kisses, can you come up? Because Baby Kisses, I love Baby Kisses' comments on this. Has a lot to say. She is like the Encyclopedia Britannica. I just aged myself by saying that because everyone now uses, I'll Google it. But she is the Encyclopedia Britannica on the Delphi case.
Why he changed up lawyers right at the 11th hour.
That's why I brought up to Andrew on Wednesday. That's why the court went, an hour or so later than what it should have started, because I was like, Andrew, what is going on? How do I not see these after 3 years of being here? How do I not get my paperwork? And he called, and I heard his secretary say, well, we don't know 100% that we sent everything to him. And I just looked at him like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, I know you're a public defender. I'm not paying you, but like, you have an obligation as a lawyer to get me all my stuff. If I'm about to take a 20-year sentence, I want to see every paperwork, everything that's ever been said, I don't know the law, so I just listen to everything my lawyer tells me. So when I don't see any of this paperwork, it's like, are you kidding me, dude? I talked about going.
Totally up to you guys because you are the channel. I am not the channel. OJ likes to believe he's the channel. Totally up to you. If you would like me to do what's called a deep dive, we're going to do a deep dive into Kegan Klein and his father, Tony, let me know. Because in order to understand the perversion that is Kegan Klein, you have to understand his dad. And it's sick. Now, I know earlier in chat, someone said there is no connection between Richard Allen and Kegan. That's what they say. But there is a connection to Tony Klein. And do not think for a minute Tony, who is mean as a snake, was not extremely involved in this catfishing, this profiling, these pictures that were coming in, all the dirty talk that was going on. He liked it. He liked it. And it's a wonder that KK hasn't been killed in jail. It really is. He is very protected.
Going to trial the whole time over it, and then he was take a 20-year sentence. I want to see every paperwork, everything that's ever been said. I don't know the law, so I just listen to everything my lawyer tells me. So when I don't see any of this paperwork, it's like, are you kidding me, dude? I talked about going to trial the whole time over it, and then he was like, well, they're not going to give you a deal. So, and then Wednesday he goes, well, maybe we should have taken that 10-year plea. I'm like, dude, you've never told me about a plea ever until right now. I don't know. I don't know. It's really bad on his side as a lawyer. I don't know what you would call it, legal term, but yeah, it's just crazy.
Let's bring in our special guest from the Murder Sheet podcast. Thank you both for being on with us, Anya Kane and Kegan Greenlee. You're my definition of a power couple, journalist, lawyer, together, following this case so closely. You all are the resident experts on it. Can you talk to me about first how you were able to get this kind of an interview with a man who's still in the midst of his litigation?
Well, geez, look at him. Mandy Moo, has anyone done a deep dive on James Chadwell? I have. He is a sick MFer. He looks like the first sketch that they put out, the first one. Now then, he is a deviant in many ways. Many ways. But one thing is, he used to pick up cats to feed to his pit bull. Absolutely, he did. Let me try to find something for you really quick. You guys are in good hands here. I get off topic quite a bit, or I go back and forth, but I think we understand each other by now. It's okay. I'm surprised this dude isn't in jail for something by now. Well, let's get back to this, and I'll get to it.
The process got started actually a couple of weeks ago. We had an interview on the show with Kegan Klein's former girlfriend. He heard about that, and he reached out to us via text and indicated he wanted to know what she had to say. And in the past, we had asked him to do an interview with us, and he said he'd only do it if we would pay him. And we didn't want to pay him. And we said, we'd be happy to talk to you about what your former girlfriend said, but we're not going to pay you. And if you want to come on the podcast, we can have a conversation about everything. And to our surprise, honestly, he agreed.
I know from the interview that is posted on the podcast that you made it clear to those who are watching, those who are listening, that he would only do it if you didn't get into too many questions about Richard Allen and the Delphi murders. But it seemed that he was forthcoming with some things on his own. Did you learn anything new from what he had to say about the Delphi murders?
It's a great question. I think it was interesting getting him on the record, noting that he's saying he does not know Richard Allen at all. We're sort of getting his side of that at this point. And sort of getting some of that on the record is helpful for us because, we can say that here's his line in the sand. He's saying he's not involved. He's saying he doesn't know this person. And I think that's helpful because there's so many rumors, right, that spread online about links between people. And so when you're asking one of the two people sort of, do you actually know this person? And they're saying blankly no, then I think that's, maybe furthers all of our understanding.
And the thing is, Kegan has more of the walk and the gait than Richard Allen. So talking about Chadwell, To me, he fits the description, but not bridge guy, of the first sketch. Now, Brad Holder, who was extremely good friends with Ron Logan, and we'll get to him in a minute, he tagged Ron Logan on February 18th of 2017. If you look at the screen, it says, "Here at the viewing, the line is long. Logan is all upset." So Brad Holder was there at the viewing for the girls, and he made sure to post publicly that Ron Logan was there and upset. Brad Holder, to me, looks like the second sketch of Bridge Guy. Soak it in. Look at it. Mandy Moose said, "Oh shit, yeah." Baby Kiss says Brooks is getting her done. Ilyanka said, "Bam." But again, we're not talking about Brad Holder anymore. I don't get it. And I cannot wait for Kegan Klein. And I've had my ass handed to me too many times. People saying there's no connection, no connection, no connection. He's taking the stand this week, my friends, in the trial. He's taking the stand. If he's not involved, why is he taking the stand? It says the man behind an online persona that preyed on underage girls and contacted Libby German the night before her death and the day of her death, will take the stand during the Delphi murders, which is scheduled to commence next week. This is a little older article. Before Richard Allen was arrested and charged with the deaths of Abby and Libby, convicted child predator Kegan was thrust. I wouldn't have used the word thrust speaking about Kegan, but that's just me. Was thrust into the Delphi murder spotlight after police learned that the Peru, Indiana man was behind a social media account called Anthony Shots. Under this false online persona, Kegan contacted numerous underage girls and manipulated them into sending sexually explicit images and videos. Well, he didn't take the 10 years because he has been sentenced to 43. But he is the one that lured them out there and will be taking the stand.
I also frankly thought it was interesting that he confirmed that he had a conversation at some point with prosecutor Nick McClelland. And I think it's worth stressing to the viewers that Nick McClelland is the prosecutor in the Delphi murders case. He is not the prosecutor in the child sexual abuse materials cases. So presumably the topic of that conversation could only be matters related to the Delphi murders.
I wanted to ask you that question. It's a great segue because you've been inside of the courtroom for all of the hearings when it comes to the Delphi murders. But I wanted to know with Kegan Klein, have you been in the courtroom and do you notice sometimes prosecutors from other cases want to pay attention to everything that's happening in a case that could impact their case? Have you noticed that? Gotten any sense of that there?
That's a great question. Yeah, we've been to pretty much all of Kegan's hearings, I think, pre-trial hearings, and have sort of tried to kind of watch about who's there. I mean, there's often a media presence. As far as other prosecutors, we've not necessarily seen that, but I can say that in the most recent hearing, what was supposed to be a sentencing hearing, there were a number of law enforcement officials who, have, potentially worked on the Delphi case there. And I think that's not surprising because I think the investigation into Kegan at the very least stemmed from the Delphi murders. Whether it turns out to be ultimately linked is anybody's guess at this point. He says it's not. A number of people wonder if it is. But at the same time, I think at the very least, the investigation into the murders of these two girls has led to other investigations into crimes against children.
It's important. Sometimes it's a tragic link between all of these cases. We've been saying the link, but can we dig into that for a second?
I want to talk about the link too, because there's too many people that could be involved and only one on trial. Okay? Only one. Baby kisses. You're exactly right. KK was at a gas station in Delphi in a Jeep, I believe. He certainly was. Now, Teresa said the defense has rested. Can you send me that article or something, Teresa? Because I thought they had way more to go through. Y'all hear that? Who the hell is calling me from Pennsylvania? But they want me to help them count their votes? Hold on. Hello? No, I'm not going to hold. Who is this? You keep calling and calling and calling and calling. Do you understand that me and my friends right now are talking about the Delphi murders? And you just keep calling and calling and calling and calling. We do not have a Cadillac Escalade, and you're up my ass sideways about it. You sound like you are from India. And I don't mean India with a feather, with a dot. So please quit calling me. We have things to do. Son of a bitch. Get so tired of that stuff. So damn rude. We're sitting here trying to do shit.
To let people who may be catching up with this story, how much do we know about the communications that Klein was having with Liberty? Has that been released to the public? Do we know exactly what's in it? Do we know summaries about what's in it?
Yeah, basically all we have is a transcript from August 2020 after Kegan Klein was arrested on the CSAM charges. And you have two investigators essentially confronting him, saying that they know that he was in contact with Liberty German before her death through his Anthony Shots account. And so, of course, police also linked Anthony Shots to the Delphi murders previously in December 2021. So that's the connection. Now, Kegan himself, in that interview and beyond, has, denied being in touch with Libby, saying he doesn't remember that, and he basically doesn't know what they're talking about. But that was what police asserted in the interview. So it's kind of, you're seeing, not a lot of public, kind of almost a Rorschach test. You're trying to interpret it like, is Kegan somehow telling the truth and this was some sort of interrogation trick? Or were they confronting him with actual information that they have and he's sort of denying it? It's kind of hard to say from the outside, but it's something that really piqued our interest in this angle.
It is certainly interesting. And Anya and Kevin, I know you all are going to stick around. We want to talk about a lot more and go into more of that interview and exactly what's going to happen with that child pornography case. That's coming up, plus a preview of what's coming up in the next hour on Closing Arguments. On the docket in
And then the discovery issue sort of, in your view, kind of threw that into, made you decide something else, essentially?
Yeah.
We know the faces of the victims in the Delphi murder case, Abigail and Liberty. But when it comes to Kegan Klein, the man who has pleaded guilty to child pornography cases and is linked to this Richard Allen Delphi murders case, but has not been charged, focusing on what he has pleaded guilty to, there are nameless, faceless victims in that case. And he now is walking back away from the sentence.
Not to cross cases, but I do believe what Doug Carter said. When it was said, "What do you mean I never had a Dropbox?" Doug Carter said, "Yes, you did." Kegan said that I sent links for. What do you mean? Doug Carter said, "Bud, your Dropbox account off your phone we have started one of the largest CP investigations ever taken in the state of Indiana. Kegan says, well, okay, but that's not me. How did that? ? He said, your Dropbox account. Again, he's acting confused. He goes, a shared link? Doug Carter says, from your Dropbox. Not to cross cases, but we're going to actually get into this with Stephen Stearns and Jen Soto. You see, to track down all of these children, all of this exploitation. I tell you what, Homeland Security is involved in this, which is why it's taken so damn long. It'd be nice if everything was like, those shows we watch on NBC or CBS or whatever, and they're done in an hour, and it's like, woo, yeah, go get him, go get him, go get him. Totally different. Totally different here. There's a reason that Kegan and Tony, hours after the murders of Abby and Libby, hightailed it to Las Vegas and came right back. That's not a vacation. That's called an errand.
Sentencing hearing and finishing out the punishment for those crimes that he has admitted to, but he is changing his tune now. And the Murder Sheet podcast asked him a specific question about whether or not he did what he has admitted to doing.
Would you consider yourself like a pedophile?
No, I would not. That's even what I put in the PSI now. Like I told it in the PSI, when I'm out in public, I don't look at teenage girls or kids. I don't think sexually about them at all. No.
What do you think happened in terms of then, some of the things you're accused of doing?
Like I told in the PSI, it just kind of spiraled out. I mean, I didn't have a girlfriend. I was a lonely guy, and I started talking to girls online, and it just kind of spiraled into something, and I don't know. It's crazy.
He says it just spiraled out of control. Still with us on the phone now. I'm glad you all got to see them the last block, but now we want you to hear them even better. So we fixed the technical difficulty, and we had the hosts of the Murder Sheet podcast, Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee, on the phone with us. Anya and Kevin, I want to ask you about the sentencing hearing that was to be. Walk us through what has changed and what you've learned now that you've interviewed him that may have you understanding a bit better about why we aren't seeing him sentenced now to what he pleaded guilty to.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such a great question because, I think a few weeks ago, we thought we were nearing the end of Kegan Klein's legal saga because he had pled guilty to all 25 counts that he was charged with. And he was, en route to be sentenced for those crimes. And the question was, how long in prison will he have to, remain in order to sort of get punished for what he admitted to doing? Come the sentencing hearing, that's thrown on its head. He's fired his defense attorney. It's unclear whether he'll necessarily be able to walk back his plea, although it seems legally possible that he will be able to essentially say, actually, I'm going to undo that guilty plea. I'm going to just take it to trial, at least on some of the charges. He indicated to us that he believes he's guilty of about 7 charges and innocent of all the rest. So it sort of just throws everything into chaos, essentially.
And so at this point, he is pointing the finger at a relative. He says there are these new documents. And are these documents that you have personally seen? Is it clear on the record what those new documents have in them? And do you define them? I know you've been following this so closely. Do you define them as new?
It appears as if he's referring to.
Okay, my friends. Susan has just asked a very important question. If Richard Allen is involved in a ring, why not roll on the others? Easy. It's called cha-ching. Cha-ching. they all go to jail, then there's no more money to be made. You see, in this little scheme they have going on, and I still think Brad Holder is up to his eyeballs in it. They're not going to roll on each other. Because how's Tony Klein going to get his rocks off and make money if the whole ring is gone?
Two separate things. One thing he's referring to is the transcript of a police interview between Kegan and detectives back in August of 2020. And the other item is related to the phones. And that, according to what prosecutors said in court, was a piece of what they described as demonstrative evidence. In other words, it was something that was made to basically show to a jury. And in this piece of demonstrative evidence, they supposedly took out some key phrases from a report. And this report detailed information about who was accessing Kegan Klein's phone. And Kegan Klein did not have access to this piece of demonstrative evidence, but he did have access prior to that to the whole report.
I see. Well, we will see what happens in this case. Sentencing delayed. I know you all will stay on top.
He got 43 years. Now, I don't know how it works in Indiana, if it's going to be served like 80%, if he's going to get an appeal. Miss K said it was on Brad Holder's Facebook page before he took it down. Oh, you damn right. I got it, though. There he is, February 18th, 2017. He was at the viewing to look at Libby and Abby. He said the line is long. He said Ron Logan is all upset. Now, it wasn't long after this that Brad Holder took his whole Facebook page down. But there he is, and to me, he looks a lot like Bridge Guy. A lot. But that is just my opinion. I do not have the evidence. So 4 years ago, Doug Carter said they were one piece away from solving the homicides. Okay, what piece are we missing?
Indiana State Police will not hold a news conference today on the 3-year anniversary of the Delphi double homicides. That's different from the previous 2 years. So where is the investigation now? And is this a cold case? We took those questions directly to the state's top cop.
But we're still as energized now as we were the day after.
No one questions Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter's passion to solve the Delphi double homicide case. Every time he talks about it, you can see it in his eyes.
It's easy to throw around the cold case idea. Nah, we're not even close to that.
You don't want to hear a funny story? You ready for this? And no, I'm not taking a phone call right now because I have a feeling that dude from India is not going to call me back about my warranty on a vehicle we don't have. My husband wears snap hats all the time. One day, he was getting ready to go to the store. He had his snap hat on. He had a pullover on. About shitting my britches. I said, oh my God, you look like Bridge Guy. He did. He was standing right there. He had a pullover and a snap hat on. I'm like, damn it. You can't be wearing that out in public. You look just like Bridge Guy. He goes, who the fuck is Bridge Guy? I'm like, do you not pay attention to the show? He goes, I pay my $2 every month. I'm like, well, you better keep that up, buddy.
3 years after the homicides, police are continuing to keep what they know close. We asked, but Carter couldn't answer.
What we know is what we know, and we're not ready to talk about that yet.
How close are you right now to getting this solved?
One piece away. One piece away. Eventually, somebody's going to do the right thing. Might be the killer himself. Might be somebody that knows who he is.
2 investigators still work full-time on the case from the Delphi City building. The ISP Laboratory Division, Intelligence Team, and Fusion Center are still combing through the now 50,000 tips.
When we're done with all we have, we start over. Again, I think I got 18 tips yesterday, just me here at my desk.
It's easy to be our own detectives and criticize the actual ones, but Carter says they accept that pressure.
And I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of them. We can't talk about what we think. Everybody else can. Or what they believe happened. We can't. There's been some criticism of me, and I'm willing to take that. I can't explain all the things that I know.
That's because only police and the killer know.
He has no idea what we know, but one day he will.
This is a different type of case because police have almost everything they need.
I can't think of a time in my entire career or in many other careers.
Okay. By the way, if you guys are in any Facebook groups or anything like that for Delphi, please share this video. Say, hey, come see us. Come say hi to my buddy Brooks. And seeing the way Doug Carter's acting makes me really happy that Mike Pence is not our vice president today, because that pasty bastard used to really get on my nerves. Really get on my nerves. Because I don't like that skating around shit. Did everyone hit the like?
That we have the voice of the person we believe is the killer, a photograph of who we believe is connected to the murders, and even a snippet of how he moves.
Carter says more information could be released in the future, but for now, this is what we're getting, and he thinks it's enough.
Somebody knows.
He cautions you to remember the two sketches are not photographs.
I believe that eventually we're going to be able to say, this person's the killer, and there's a combination of those two images that'll land on his face, whatever that might look like.
Carter, this is one of his priorities in life. Even if it takes another year, he's going to get this solved.
If we hit year 4, I hope we're sitting here again. But we will do everything within our power and within the parameters of law to find the individual that did this to Abby and Libby.
A memorial service is being planned at Delphi United Methodist Church tonight from 5 to 7. They're taking donations for food and pet supplies. And if you know anything in the killings of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, send your tip in. Call 844.
My opinion only, my friends. My opinion only. The two different sketches are two different people that came from witnesses that were on the trails that day. This whole combination of two different people. No, these are two different people, my friends. My opinion is one could be Chadwell. If you look at the chin, you look at the nose, you look at the lips, you look at the eyes, could definitely be him. Remember, the sketches are from people's memories. Please do not forget, Kegan lured the girls out there. If you look at this one, facial hair is obviously noted by witnesses. Same facial hair as Brad Holder. Same nose, same eyes, same lips, same cheeks. This was a setup. These are two different people in these sketches. So when they say, oh, you combine two people. No. These are two different people.
459-5786 or email Abby and Libby tip at cacoshrf.com with any information.
Woo! We're getting to a lot of stuff. Baby Kisses says Holder was at work. I have heard yes, and I have heard no. That is a huge problem for me. That he could turn over his time cards, but then they weren't available. What are we supposed to do with that? I don't know. I don't know. Now we're going to get to Ron Logan.
Up there in Carroll County and still distraught over the loss of two of their own.
In fact, our Eyewitness News reporter Emily Longnecker tonight continues our team coverage in Delphi with how people there continue to cope with the loss of Abby and Libby. Emily?
Good point, Lisa Wilson. She said, fact is, we can't see Bridge Guy's face. Fact, fact, fact. But the people that were there that day could. That's the reason, again, in my opinion, we're talking about two different people in those sketches. And hey, look, Richard Allen's probably going to go down for this. And that's a sad day for Indiana. You know why? Because there's more out there. I do believe he's somehow involved. I do. They keep forgetting about Elvis Fields, who had information about the crime scene that only somebody that was there would know. Now let's get to Ron Logan, the fish trainer.
John and Andrea, people here in Delphi are cautious tonight about saying too much of anything. Many of them knew these two young girls and they know their families and they are just...
Honestly, I want to do a whole damn show about how to train a fish because that's what he said. He went to Lafayette, Indiana to get those tropical fish and he spent the whole damn day trying to train them. I don't even know what to say about that.
Just finding it still very difficult to talk about what happened. On the outskirts of town, though, where police found the two teens' bodies, people are talking, sharing their disbelief and anger. Against the beauty of the sunshine and bright blue skies Wednesday, it was still hard for Ron Logan to believe the violence visited upon two young teens just out for a hike on a day off from school.
Okay, my gathering from what has come from the evidence presented in trial is they still have not proven who Bridge Guy is. Who do you think Bridge Guy is? A lot of people lost their minds when they saw Ron Logan in this interview. Let me show you why. Because of the hoodie he has on. They're like, you throw a snap hat on that, he's Bridge Guy. So here's our fish trainer before he died. Remember, Ron Logan has passed away. Speaking with the media.
Leave the violence visited upon two young teens just out for a hike on a day off from school.
Who would have thought they'd let their children out to do something special that day, take a trip down, and then turn out with a disaster like this?
For 53 years, Logan's lived on the country road near the trail that leads to the Monon High Bridge.
People walk up and down it with their children, and yeah, it's quite a nice little trail, and the bridge is real.
Never, though, has Logan seen anything like what he has this week, the search for an eventual discovery of the bodies of Libby German and Abby Williams.
The area that they were in is very hard to get to. I mean, you can't get there unless you walk there. I mean, so.
Well, he should know it's his property. He should know it's on his property. Okay, my friends? He's on his property. I just got a text message from someone saying, sorry, Brooks, I can't get into the Delphi case. I got it. Let's talk about the property. Anders said Ron walked just like the Bridge Guy because he has the shorter gait because of his leg. Okay? He's got neuropathy in the leg. No way could Ron Logan force the girls down the hill, across a driveway, down another hill, across the creek, up the creek bank in 2 minutes. No. And his old ass isn't out there walking across the bridge anyway. Remember, he was training fish that day, teaching them how to do the backstroke and putting them in the circus and shit.
Somebody would be walking with them or something.
Those are the same kind of thoughts Marvin Sandifer keeps mulling over. His daughter used to hike the same trail.
She said, I've seen a couple scruffy looking guys back in there, but, you know, they never bothered me. They went on their way.
Sandifer.
Okay. So this man, remember, this interview is very early on. Very early on after Libby and Abby were murdered. Very early on, this man said, his kid said, we saw some scruffy looking guys, but nothing to be concerned about. This was a setup. I just wish the state, even though it's been a month of Sundays, I really wish the state would have taken more time to prove their point and not leave anything in the jurors' minds that there could be others involved.
Sandifer keeps mulling over. His daughter used to hike the same trail.
She said, I've seen a couple scruffy looking guys back in there, but, you know, they never bothered me. They went on their way.
Sandifer is anxious for investigators to identify a suspect.
I'm not really scared. I'm just worried that it would happen again.
That's why he hopes someone knows or saw something on that trail Monday and can lead investigators down the right path soon.
I hope they catch them tonight, and I hope they make them pay.
And with the release tonight of the picture of that unknown man seen walking on the trail Monday afternoon, people here are hoping investigators are that much closer to discovering who is responsible for taking these two young lives. John, Andrea.
All right. Thank you. Emily Longnecker in Delphi tonight.
And what a horrible thing. Horrible that this happened to Abby and Libby. Horrible. Horrible that there's people in such a small community or any community that would lure them out to assault them. All of these people, in my opinion, some way or another involved, that are unvetted, in my opinion. I have a very, 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 very close person to Libby's family that said they're not buying any of this. They think there's more people involved. What are you going to do? I don't know. I have no idea. Well, y'all take a second and tell me, are you going to be back tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Remember, 9 a.m. Central Time is when we get to business. And we had a lot going on today. Now, what do you want to talk about tomorrow? What do you want to talk about tomorrow? There's some things about Madeline Soto I really want to go over. I really want to cram some shit down Dawn Wells' throat. So you tell me. Maria said this is not true justice in her opinion. I got you. I got you, girl. I'm feeling you. So you tell me. And if you are not a member, please consider being one. We don't bite. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. Everyone loves you. It's like that show Cheers. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And we're always glad you came. So anyway, you guys have a great rest of your hump day. And I will see you back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. because you all promised me. You guys are the absolute best. Thanks for being here.